Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Ballroom Chat. If you are new here, welcome. I'm Samantha. I'm your host from Love.Live.Dance. If you are returning and you have not yet hit that subscribe button, please do so. It's just below on your screen, or if you swipe up on your phone, do hit the subscribe button. We are trying to get to 100 subscribers so that we can have our own custom URL for YouTube, which would be so lovely to have. Today, I am joined by an amazing couple. They are U.S. Amateur 10 Dance Champions, World and UK Amateur 10 Dance Finalists, World Amateur Rising Star Latin Finalists. Separately, they hold the titles of two-time U.S. National Youth Latin Champion, Youth National 10 Dance Champion, and two-time National Amateur Cabaret Champion. They are Kayci and Kayci Treu. Thank you guys so much for being on the episode today.
Thank you so much for having us, Samantha. We're looking forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So, obviously we are enjoying the lovely weather outside. It's Labor Day weekend. Any fun plans coming up? Any time off, or are you right back into the studio?
We'll definitely hit the studio today for a couple of hours, lessons and practice. But this morning, after our conversation with you, we'll have a little bit of family time, spend some time outdoors, and it is beautiful weather today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like today is the last warm day. Maybe we'll have in Utah. It's supposed to get really cold the next 2 days and then maybe warm back up.
I know.
So strange.
Yeah.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. I guess it's the welcome. We're actually in September. It really is fall, even though this year has not felt like we've had seasons.
Yeah.
Love fall.
It'll be beautiful. We like weather in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So obviously a lot of titles between the two of you, some as a partnership together, some separately. I want to get into the kind of history of how you guys got into dancing. I had your sister Krista on in an earlier episode, so we know a little bit about the Treu family dynamics. But in your own words, I guess, how did each of you get into ballroom dancing?
You first.
Me first? Okay. I was around 6 or 7 years old. My mother used to teach at BYU on the ballroom dance company, and so she had the skill set to be able to teach. I was at an elementary school called Northridge Elementary, and my mother was teaching my younger sister how to dance, pee-wee swing, just a few steps. And I think I kind of wasn't interested, but my mom said, you should try and learn a few steps. So I learned, the L step and the basic and like the underarm turn or something like that. And I swore to my grandparents and my parents I would never dance. It's like, no way, I'm not gonna dance. This is stupid. Guys don't dance. I'm 6 years old, right? Well, it just so happened there was a competition, I think a couple months later, actually no, several months later in December, where my family and I traveled to Idaho. And there was a competition that was happening there, and my sister was competing, and she had twins for partners, and both of them got sick. And both of them actually dropped out of the competition. And so basically my mom walked up to me and said, so Carly doesn't have a partner, my younger sister. And she's like, would you be willing to dance with her, Pee-wee swing? Because it's the only event that you could probably do with her. And I'm like, sure. Because I was sitting around watching my older siblings dance. I was like, this is actually really cool. And there were a lot of kids that were dancing. I mean, there were hundreds of kids, in syllabus attire, white and black. And I was really excited and pumped, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll try it. So I was probably the kid out there who was bouncing up and down, looking ridiculous, just smiling with his sister, like doing the same steps over and over and over, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, something like that. I don't remember my exact age. And I couldn't believe it, but there were, I think, 7 couples, and we won. And from there I was hooked. I was like, this is awesome. This is way too much fun. And I think that my parents told me growing up I had a decent sense of rhythm. So I think the reason we did well is because I was probably on rhythm, but that's it. It's a Pee-wee event.
Knowing you probably had a crazy amount of energy too.
I was probably just jumping up and down like one of those cute little kids, just like, oh, this is awesome. So that's how I got into it. Never stopped from that point on.
Yeah.
And how about you, Kayci?
Well, for me, it's kind of the opposite. I always loved dancing. I started my first class when I was like 3.5, 4. It was one of those ballet tap fusion classes, and never really stopped. I knew about ballroom because my parents met doing ballroom at BYU. That's how they started their courtship, and it was part of their love story. So I always thought that it would be really awesome to go to BYU to study there. That was kind of my dream school since I was a kid. And I wanted to do ballroom there too because, I saw those videos when I was a kid. I saw the beautiful costumes. I thought the dancing was so elegant and lovely. But I did classical ballet all growing up. So I was trained in classical Russian Vaganova, really intense training. And then I did a mix of just about everything else. That was the focus, but I had contemporary, I had lyrical, I had Russian character, a little bit of flamenco, but ballet was kind of everything, right? So I started teaching when I was about 16. I was on scholarship with my company, had some great experiences. Anyway, time comes to go to college. I get into BYU. It's my dream school. I'm like, here we go. I'm very much kind of an academic as well. I love school. So I was super excited. And I was like, I want to major in something other than dance because dance is always going to be part of my life. So I'll start investigating these classes. But I had to make the decision like, am I going to try out for the ballroom company or am I going to go into theater ballet? And I decided like the week before school, I was like, I'm not even going to go to the ballet auditions. I'm going to throw everything into this ballroom thing, see what comes of it. I can always go back. I have tons of experience for ballet under my belt. Not taking classes for a couple months won't kill me, right? So I go all in and do the auditions that first Thursday of school. I don't make the company. I have zero ballroom experience. Yeah. I could like do lead follow with my dad in the kitchen. I don't know any steps. I know the names of a couple dances. Anyway, I go to a social dance club right before the audition and I tell them, I'm like, I'm auditioning in 2 days. Teach me some waltz and cha-cha. So I'm ready to go. I was just no holds barred, going all in. And I had a great experience. I loved the audition. I had such a fun time watching everyone afterwards. Took all of the bronze level classes that were available, made the company the next year, and the rest is kind of history. I started competing open. I finished all the syllabus classes, did all my medals exams, really started competing open like competitively, and
Just right away.
then I meet this guy pretty shortly afterwards, and the rest is kind of history. I mean, I knew about him before I ever met him and heard the legend of Kayci Treu. Like a lot of people look up to him and they admired what he had accomplished. And I was like, man, he worked hard. He did it. I can work hard. I can do it, And anyway, then we ended up meeting and becoming partners and falling in love. And ta-da, here we are. So
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I mean, how was it received when you did walk into that first social dance and you were like, all right, I've got zero experience, but I'm going to be trying out in 2 days? Did people react positively to that, or did you get a little bit of pushback?
I don't remember anything positivity.
Okay.
It's probably magical for you.
I was on cloud 9. I was at my dream school. I was going to do my dream thing. My parents were on team. And so I did have a little bit of like understanding, right? Like my dad I could follow really quite well. I don't know. In my mind back then, I was like, yeah, I'm a decent follower. I just don't know the details of technique.
Yeah, sure. Her parents are familiar with ballroom dancing. And of course they were on the team years previous. And
so it was my dad who was like, you've got to get into all the classes.
Kitchen, basic steps. So
yeah. But when I walked into that social dance club, like everyone was super receptive. They're like, oh, that's so great. Like, that's awesome. And I felt confident too, because I had a dance background. Like I'm a dancer, right? And so I didn't feel out of my element at all. If anything, I was just really excited, enthusiastic. And that's how I felt other people received me too. They were all excited, enthusiastic. I even had a guy help me for an extra couple hours the next day to help me feel ready. And everyone was so kind.
Yeah.
And so receptive. Even at the audition, there's this guy who came up to me. His name is Paul Cave. He became a good friend. And he was like, hey, so you new around here? And I told him my background, and he's like, well, you should keep doing this. Like, anyway, just everyone was super, super supportive. And
You definitely danced like a ballerina.
I did. I watched those early videos, and it is so different. I just kind of laugh at myself. I tell my students, if I could go from where I was to where I am now, you can do anything. I just feel like that's the most positive message I could give. And so when I started teaching at BYU, that's when everything kind of came full circle. I was teaching those first bronze classes that I
For
took.
ballroom.
And I always told the kids, or the,
Yeah.
the students, right? They're collegiate students. And my whole premise to them was like, look, this is my background. This is where I am now. Like, you never know where this could take you, but don't be afraid of it. You can do anything you want.
Yeah.
And BYU's ballroom program is fantastic. It really does have it really works your way all the way up, bronze, silver, gold, platinum kind of thing. The way they have it built up is extremely well structured. So it's a great place to really grow, to develop yourself as a dancer. So it was perfect for you.
They even had teaching methods classes, so I got that teacher training. I did theory classes, then as I became more advanced, to really study the ISTD technique books. We've just recently taken both of our ISD Latin and ballroom licentiate exams.
Just recently our ballroom.
Yeah, we took the ballroom exam this summer. So thanks COVID for the extra break, I guess. When it's something worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was great. Really good foundation for kind of my career to launch from.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, did you both end up on the tour team before you ended up partnering together, or did those two kind of happen at the same time later? What is the timeline as far as we're touring, we're competing, we're starting to rack up some titles, and then the partnership happens?
It was all a whirlwind.
Yeah, it
was all kind of simultaneous.
It all definitely came together. The way I remember it was, because Kayci was such a hard worker on her individual dancing for ballroom, she progressed through the program a little faster than normal. She was invited up to was it backup that you were invited up halfway through the year?
Yeah, their showcase company, which is the tier just below the touring company.
Yeah, so she was invited up to that team kind of a half a year in advance, or almost a whole year in advance.
Yeah, I did. I was there within 2 years. So I made the premier level team in 2 years.
Yeah, so she made it super quick. And in fact, we should definitely mention this. I serve an LDS mission, so I've never met her. I came home from my mission and I had a spot on the touring company. So that's where I started when I came home from serving a mission. And
he'd done a year of school prior. So
yeah, I did a little bit of school before
already.
So I kind of paid my dues in terms of in that regard. And my sister Carly was also supposed to be on team my first year of tour team, but Carly actually
she introduced us.
She introduced us, but man, she did a lot for us. She introduced us, but also she she decided that she was going to serve a mission, so she put off being on tour team, and that opened up a spot for Kayci. So Kayci was able to join the tour team. That's how I remember it, and that was great. So our first year on tour team was together. So that was like, well, that's great.
We met in March. We met in March of 2013. And then
13, yeah.
And then that following fall was when we both were on the touring company together.
Yes.
So our partnership started that summer. We worked every day, worked our butts off. And
I remember I had quite a few auditions. I auditioned with a lot of different girls. But I was on a mission. I wanted to find someone I could marry that I could dance with. So I was pretty vocal to some of the girls I thought I could potentially date and dance, because I didn't want to be hidden. I didn't want to be.
So we had this process, right? We've met a couple times to practice. We did an audition with one of his coaches. We sat about and talked about goals and everything. And during one of those third or fourth meetings, he's like, I would love to take you on a date. I don't really date my dance partners, but I would be very interested
For me, it was a real growing
taking
up.
you out, right? And I was like, well, he's a nice guy. I really like his sister. Yeah, what could hurt, right? What's one date? So I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Let's just be mature about it. And lo and behold, we just really clicked. We were friends and partners first, and then
And
just
we actually did
grew into something more.
we did ballroom first, and then we picked up Latin a little later. I did have a Latin partner when we first kind of started dancing together.
He decided, he's like, so if I'm gonna date this girl, I better not put all my eggs in one basket. Like, maybe let's just start with the ballroom together, and then we'll see where things go from there.
Yeah, and even before that, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just date her, and not dance with her.
Yeah.
But it just so happened that it worked out with the girls I was auditioning with. You know, the circumstances were just right for me to do ballroom with her. And then a couple months later, it worked out to do Latin with her. And so I was like, this must be meant to be kind of a thing.
It
So
very much felt that way.
it
Yeah.
felt that way. And so then we did 10 dance kind of right out of the gate.
And we were still in school, so
Yeah.
we had 4 years on the touring company, um, during which time we were both completing our undergrads. We were very busy. It was a lot to juggle at once. And to us, having that college experience and that college education was really important. I think, especially for me, I really, really valued that. And that meant some sacrifices. Like, we couldn't do all of the competitions we wanted to do. We had to be really aware
Yeah.
of time management. I would go back and do it all the same way, though. The experiences we had with the touring company were fantastic. So many people we got to meet all around the world. We were able to compete at the Black Bull Formation Championships as a team. We won that with everyone, and that was a unique experience.
It was also great to compete individually there as well.
Yeah, we had a wonderful time. I felt like we just had to be really aware of time management.
Yeah, because it was just a lot on our plate. It was that's why it kind of felt like a blur, you know, to manage school, responsibilities on team, and two styles that were competing together while a relationship that we are both progressing down.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, we, you know, of course, I was teaching dance, you were teaching ballet.
We were both teaching. Yeah.
And then I think you just picked up a couple students as well as time progressed.
Yep.
I still had a security guard job where I had night shifts. So I'd be up
First couple years of college.
first couple years of college. So I'd be up all night watching this building, you know, making sure no one's doing anything shady, you know, no homeless people come on this private lot.
Yeah.
And then I would go from work straight to team rehearsals at 7 a.m., having not slept at all that night. Then after go doing team rehearsals, then we have technique class, then you have your biology class, and then after that you'd go practice together, and we get some training and do some lessons, then we would work, and then
do rounds,
and that was an exhausting time. And then go to bed after 48 hours of being awake.
Yeah.
That was tough.
It was busy.
Did you find that once you graduated and left the college experience that you've been able to maintain that work ethic? Or have you been able to find a way to prioritize, like, no, I'm going to spend time in this and I'm going to let these other things kind of calm down because I need to breathe? I know for me, I was the same way. I was taking like 24 credits a semester. I was on ballroom team. I was I was crazy. Had a part-time job one semester. It was just, I look back at it, I'm like, was I just running on Red Bull and Cocoa Puffs? Like, how, what was I doing? Yeah. And now as an adult, I'm like, okay, I've got this amount of time that I can spend teaching. I've got this amount of time that I can spend, you know, on family and social stuff, and everything else, I just want to sit in a quiet room and just not move for, you know, X number of hours.
Yeah.
I think both of us are pretty driven. We're pretty hard workers. And so it's easy for us to just put our nose to the grinder and go. I think the more we kind of step back and really evaluate what our lives are and where our priorities are, the more we do try and really maintain a balance. Family is really important to us. We love spending time outdoors. I'm an avid reader. Like, we have all these other interests as well that really help us kind of bring a fresh perspective and new life into our dancing, so that we don't get too much into
too
one
much tunnel
thing.
vision, I guess.
Yeah. But
because one of the other things we enjoy doing is putting together show dances, and I especially love putting together show dances. So every time we watch a movie, of course, all dancers listen to the music and go, "Ooh, would this be a good showpiece?" You know. So I guess you could say, yeah, we try to balance, but also prioritize, and then take advantage of those moments where it could turn into an opportunity, like the show dance, I guess you could say.
I think we're still probably just as busy as we were in college, maybe slightly less, but just in a different way,
Yeah.
Mm.
right? So the life of a dancer is a lot of traveling, a
Mhm.
lot of training, a lot of teaching, and it's still super rewarding and super fulfilling, but still super busy.
Yeah, I don't know if we answered your question necessarily.
No,
I
you
hope we kind
did.
of did.
Absolutely. Absolutely, you did. So I guess shifting now to current priorities and currently what you're working on, why 10 dance? Why not specialize in either standard or Latin? What's the draw for the two of you to continue doing both?
Speak for myself.
There's a couple
There's a
things.
lot of
You go and
reasons.
I'll fill in.
For me, I can't give up either. I love them both so dang much.
Ditto.
I love the artistry of being able to create something that's beautiful and elegant. And I also like to create something that's a little bit more flirtatious and fun. And I feel like because the characters of the dance in Latin are so different from the characterization of the dances in standard, I don't want to give either of them up. In fact, I look forward to. We haven't done this as much. We've only done this like once, creating an actual 10 dance show dance where you can transition between styles.
We have a lot of fun
That's
ideas.
that's one of the things that's on my agenda that I want to be able to achieve in the near future. And but of course, up to this point, we've done a lot of here's ballroom number for show dance, here's a Latin number for show dance, and it's just hard to want to give up one or the other. The other thing is our coaches tell us that we're good at both. We can actually pull off both. Sometimes some people say, well, you're really good in this, you should probably give up the other style because you'll excel in this one specifically. But we've had coaches on both sides say you're good in both styles, and we found success in both styles to a certain level where it's like they're even. And growing up, it was important for me to try and be balanced as a dancer. My parents were wise in saying, you should probably do more than just one style. Although kind of around the 16 17 around 17 18 years old, including 19, I specialized just in Latin. But before that point, I did kind of a mixture of everything. But also, I think that it's important to us to want to, you know, have a family someday and provide for them. And I like the idea of teaching both. I think it's something that we enjoy. You know,
We really love both styles. Performing, competing them is one, but also just learning and training. We
yeah,
we love being students of this art form. And it's so rewarding, fulfilling to pick the top brains from both
hmm,
and see how many similarities there really are between those styles and
oh yeah,
how much your ballroom can help your Latin and how much your Latin can help your ballroom.
yeah,
And we really love embodying that in our teaching as well. um, there's just so many things about good dancing, that apply both ways.
yeah. I mean, a lot of people would say that one of our better dances is Paso Doble. Well, that makes sense because we do ballroom, and
Mm.
Paso Doble was originally a ballroom dance. And it's got ballroom figures in it. So that's a plus. And I mean, I don't think you can necessarily compare quick step to jive, but
But there are
if you want
some
to do some crazy
similarities
fast
there.
footwork,
Yeah.
there are some
There are
similarities.
similarities. There's lots.
So like some of the things I like to do in our quick step that might have faster feet feel a little more comfortable, I guess, for me and for us because we also like jive. Because you got to have quick feet for some of those same feelings. Not that much, but I don't know,
I
maybe a
think
little
we
bit.
also
Yeah.
like the challenge that it is to tackle both. Could we perhaps go a little bit further if, like, in one specific style, if we specialized? Possibly.
Oh, no doubt,
I mean, for sure. For
no doubt.
sure. We feel lucky to have made like a World Rising Star Latin final.
That was great.
That was fantastic. Our Latin probably is just a little bit there with our ballroom, a little bit higher. But we've worked hard on both styles because we like that challenge and because we like expanding ourselves in both directions. I think also, like, personality wise, we find a lot of ourselves in both. Some people have told us, some good friends, like, I'm just such a Latin dancer. I'm such a ballroom dancer.
Yeah, the
And
personality.
yeah. And we just feel so much of ourselves in both. So to give up one would
Yeah,
almost feel like
you're giving
we're
up part of
missing,
yourself.
yeah, we're giving up part of ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's more difficult, but in some ways it's much more rewarding.
I did have a dream growing up that I could be a world 10 dance champion of some kind, and I thought that was just kind of like that would be so great.
Yeah.
We really do have a great respect for people that specialize,
And
um,
people that do both.
and people that do
Dancers
both.
in general, it's such an amazing
Um,
industry.
but it seemed like more feasible with what our priorities are to also do 10 dance, I would say, because specialists that are competing around the world scene. They might not have as much time to be around family. They might not have as much time to put towards other things that we would want to have important in our lives. So for us, we do care about family quite a bit, and we want to be able to support and see, your sister go to a soccer game if we can,
Yeah. And we feel very supported
Um,
by our families too. They're very supportive of our goals, and that's really helpful.
so we just want to be balanced in that area, and I felt like 10 dance, even though some people say it's twice the work, and in some cases I could see that's true, but everyone has the same amount of time in a day,
Mhm.
so if you've got 8 hours in a day and then we do so many hours of that lat, so many hours of ballroom, well, the person who's doing just one style is going to do all those hours for that one style. So um yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I think you made a good point there in the middle, which was you're currently teaching, you have an eye to teach in the future. So having a really strong foundation in both styles is going to make you more marketable as an instructor. You can meet the needs of more students. You can speak with authority on both topics. Have you cross-trained at all in the American styles, or have you made a decision, no, we're passionate about international, that's where our background is, so we want to kind of stay on the international side of the dance world?
So I grew up having some American experience. I did compete American rhythm when I was 14, 15, um, which was really nice to be able to say I've dabbled in it, as well as American smooth. I didn't do American smooth for that long. I did it for a very brief period of time.
I did it for probably a year and a half, 2 years.
But of course, that's just a good enough experience to kind of gain respect for it. But also, if it's needed, we're not afraid to choreograph for a smooth couple. We could point them if they wanted to become super serious, maybe in a different direction, with teachers that are
Specialized.
specializing in that particular category. But we're not afraid to be able to offer those services to people if they want them. And sometimes our opinion is kind of almost developed for, say, the smooth category, because like, yeah, we move like this in Latin and this is the ballroom technique, and you put those two together and you're a 10 dancer, and sorry, the 10 dancers work well for smooth.
We're very passionate
So
about the international styles. We thrive in that realm and really, really love it. We have
yeah.
so much respect for the American styles as well. We have really
Mhm.
great friends in both categories.
Yeah.
For us personally, I think that we prefer the international and in our personal training and our personal teaching.
Yeah.
Um, but when you're a student of dance, you're a student of all dance, and you just
Yes.
have to kind of decide where to spend most of your time. Most of our time is spent in international, but we do enjoy studying and learning from the smooth and rhythm categories as well. Everything has something to offer.
We have
Definitely.
gotten lessons from those teachers, and we wanted them to give us their opinion on our Latin or on our standard, because um,
So many of them have
so
10
many of
dance
them have.
backgrounds too.
But because they're dancers and they're good and they're proficient in their specialized field, then of course it helps us. Like, it was fun to have a smooth lesson on our paso doble. you
There
know
you go.
that was really quite interesting. So
Well, and I feel like the sport and the artistry of dance sport is constantly evolving and constantly changing. And if you go back and you watch videos from even 10, 20, 30 years ago, it looks dramatically different. So having an understanding and a grounding and a foundation in all styles, you can then tailor, what do we want to look like in our standard? Do we want to go for, the extreme stretch and the extreme shape? Do we want to go for sharpness? Do we want to add in some of those more fluid, maybe like cheeky elements that you get in your American foxtrot? Like how do we want to incorporate that, right? So I think that makes you, powerhouse dancers if you have the ability to train from everyone and learn from everyone and then incorporate it into your own dancing.
so true. Yeah.
Obviously, 2020 has just kind of been an interesting question mark of a year. Um,
That's
uh, were you at nationals this year before it came to a complete halt, or were your events scheduled for after everything got shut down?
Yeah, so we were scheduled to dance Latin on Friday night and ballroom on Saturday night, and the competition came to a halt Thursday. It was a really interesting process because we were there with our students Tuesday through Thursday and doing a lot with them. And we're at the competition Thursday afternoon, and we received the announcement that they're going to be canceling the rest of the event. And there was so much kind of back and forth. It was a totally new experience for everyone. I just thought the officials did such a great job trying to do the very best they could to make
Oh
it a
man,
wonderful experience.
the stress they must have been under is crazy.
So much props to the organizers and officials. They just did a wonderful job. It ended up coming to a point on Thursday where they're like, okay, Amateur Latin, you're competing tonight. Get ready.
Get ready.
And they're like, okay, Amateur Baller Man Latin, you're competing tonight. Get ready. And then it was
ready.
like, never mind, you're not competing. Never mind, just Latin. Never mind, nothing at all.
Yeah.
And so it was a little back and forth.
So it was a little like,
So we were just trying to, okay, get in the zone. Okay, never mind. Let's go to.
okay, we have to go home. We have to get food. Get ready, because that means we're
like,
competing in 2 hours. Let's go. We can do this.
So it was a little bit of a roller coaster emotionally for us. At the end of the day, I thought they did a wonderful job doing what they could with the situation.
And they made the right decisions.
And it was great to be able to watch all of the younger categories have their chance to dance and compete. And it ended up going until about 2:30 in the morning. We were there till the bitter end, just screaming and cheering for all these preteens out on the floor.
Yeah.
Some of them are from New Jersey, so it probably feels like 4 in the morning to them.
Yeah, it was. I'm so glad that they were still able to dance.
There was
they
a wonderful
that far
energy.
distance, and they needed to dance.
It ended up not being the championship events for most of the categories. I think they finished out Smooth and Cabaret. And I think those are the only 2 amateur events. I could be wrong.
Well, and part of that was...
There's still a wonderful energy.
Sorry, part of that, if I'm remembering correctly, is behind the scenes, the discussion was, I think we can get all of the championships and we can still get the titles in. And then they realized that there were entrants that hadn't made it yet to Utah, that they were either coming internationally or for other states.
Yeah, the people that landed and got a text on their phone right when they landed.
Yeah.
Oh, canceled. What? Like, oh.
Yeah, I thought they did a wonderful job doing everything they could. They really made the best of a tricky situation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it was sad. It was sad not competing.
It was really sad.
So.
It was really sad.
So currently all of the titles are amateur. We've kind of talked about the fact that you're also teaching. Currently the rule in the NDC, at least as far as NDCA goes, is you can do both to a certain point. Is there a plan eventually to go professional?
Well, first, just addressing that amateur point, I think we feel very blessed because we make dance our full-time gig. We are really lucky to have students that we love and love working with, and that we can be involved in this full-time. So, of course, it's just a natural progression from that point to really, make it an official title change and say, okay, yeah, we are going to be competing in the professional category now. To be honest with you, we had plans
We had
plans, and then COVID
changed them.
Train wrecked.
And we feel comfortable sharing this, but we were going to turn professional right after the national championships. So we were going to compete at the national championships as amateurs.
Yeah. We were going to do probably one more Blackpool as amateurs as well.
One more Blackpool because of the success we had that season in Rising Star.
At the World Championships.
At the World Championships, that was a great opportunity. Just make it back round after round after round after round after round. Like, sweet, we made the final. That's awesome.
That was a great day.
But yeah, so we had plans to turn professional right after the national championships, and kind of make it our last national championships. Try to fight for that 10 dancing and that title one more time. Try to make it into both the Latin final and the ballroom final. We have been very close to that Latin final.
2 marks away.
We've been 2 marks away over a 3-year period. And it's like, my gosh, if we just get 2 more marks, 2 more, we've been in that final the previous year. Instead of a whole year of continuing to train, working on our dancing, and like, wow, it took a whole year to just change 2 marks,
Yeah.
And so that was kind of our plan. Like, we're going to try and fight for it. If it doesn't happen, that's okay. But we did our best this last season, and we're going to try and make the Latin final, make the ballroom final, then win 10 dance and move on. That was the plan. But of course, plans change when something like COVID happens.
Yeah.
So we, I feel bad. I do feel bad, kind of, in that regard. That yeah, it was going to be kind of our last kind of a thing. But I also feel bad for everybody else, who was their last year of junior, then they're moving to youth. Or was their last year of youth, they're moving to adults.
I
Or
think
last year in
everyone's missed out
21,
on something.
everyone missed out on something, and so um, it was difficult for everybody in the end.
So is the plan then to essentially push it back a year and have, assuming we all get through this and March comes around and nationals are in 2021, which I guess is still kind of up in the air at this point. But if they're able to hold nationals and they have the titles and the championships still there, are you planning on doing one more event as amateurs, or has the discussion shifted to, well, maybe we just come out with the first event in 2021 where things can get back to normal as professionals? TBD.
We've got a lot of both. And of course, everything is subject to change with the nature of the world right now. That amateur championship means a lot to us. It's a dream Kayci's had since he was very, very young. It's one we've been so close to. I think there's a perception in today's world, which is different from what it was 20 years ago.
I mean, there's truth to a lot of different opinions.
Where like 10 dancers tend to not be as proficient
in a specialized
category, which is an interesting perception, because we see some of our colleagues in the 10 dance category making UK, making Blackpool finals and semifinals in their individual categories. And that's really what we wanted to set out to accomplish this last year, was really push 10 dance on a world stage and do our very best in all of the individual categories as well, because I think there's so much to be gained and by really pushing those individual styles as well as the 10 dance style. And so we really, really are pushing and have been pushing all summer as well to continue improving in both our Latin and our ballroom. And it would be fantastic to do another championship and to make both finals and do 10 dance and hopefully win that again. That's what we're aiming towards.
So in answer to your question, we have spent a lot of time thinking about it. We've talked to a few of our coaches, and we've also prayed about it. We're like, you know what, we're gonna hold on to 6 more months, and because that's how far we are from March, where the national championship is held, and I don't want to let go of being able to make either of those finals. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay. We're still we're just gonna turn pro, when the time is right afterwards. But we want to have one last shot. We'd like to get that one last chance, and I don't want to think that because if we made the decision to turn pro now, then it would be difficult to live with that thought process that we never kind of got our last chance, and I think I wouldn't want to live with that kind of regret, being like, hey, we didn't get a try, whereas it would be easier to say, this is going to be our last try. We're going to try and accept no matter what happens. That seems like a little bit easier of a scenario to follow through with.
Yeah, you don't.
For us, we're constantly working on our dance. And so we're going to continue pushing our dancing as amateurs. We continue pushing our dancers as professionals, and we try to hold ourselves to the highest standard we can, right? So in one sense, obviously your competitive field shifts quite a bit as you turn professional. But in another sense of the word, it's the same thing. You're constantly improving. You're constantly working on your dancing. And so that's really our main plan.
That will never stop, of course.
We will never stop working on our dancing. And that's the main goal.
Yeah. Well, and you don't want to make a significant transition in your career with unfinished business, right? You want to be able to close it out on your terms and feel comfortable moving into that next stage. I want to ask a question, and you can absolutely opt to not answer it if you don't feel comfortable with it. But I would be remiss, since you've mentioned the importance of nationals and the importance of kind of pushing for those, placements in those titles. There was a brief moment last year where it was unclear whether BYU was actually going to be able to award titles because of the non-gendered partnership rule change and whether or not they were going to allow it. In the moment, did that impact your decision, or would that have impacted your decision to compete at BYU that year?
No, we still would have competed.
I think it's very important that as a dance community, we all support one another and that we try to make sure that everything is as fair and as equitable for everyone as it can be. With the volatile situation of last year, obviously everything was quite complex. To us, we stand for fairness, we stand for everyone to have an equal playing field. We feel very strongly that we should all support and love one another in this industry, which is interesting because we're all competing against each other too, right? But we really believe in that mutual respect for everyone. But at the end of the day, we really also want to be on the floor and to dance. And for us, dancing is an important parallel to life, but we also don't want to make it a political battleground for us personally. And so we try to make everything as much about the dancing as possible. Is that always possible? No. Um, but I think with the situation as it was unfolding, we were still probably going to compete and
Yeah.
just try to show our love and our support in every way we can for all dancers.
We've competed on the floor with that scenario before. It hasn't been a problem in the past. The only thing is we've talked to some of our coaches, and there are a lot of questions, about making something like that work. In fact, we have a lot of people that we've talked to. They're very respectable in the dance community that also have questions. Being, how do you compare? Because when you compare a traditional couple, you have a man and a man compare man to man. You compare lady to lady, right? How was her heel turn? How was the other girl's heel turn? Then same when you compare man and Latin. He's got a nice build. He's built his body nice, and he can represent the masculine character of Paso Doble. And then you compare that to another man who's representing Paso Doble. And some of our judges who some of our teachers who are how do I say this? Who are part of that different community? They've expressed it's hard to judge. It's hard to judge an event where if you have two women dancing together and you have a traditional couple, that's hard to compare.
Mm.
How do you compare that? That's something that's kind of difficult. And that's one of the questions I think people have, or the judges have, in terms of how to make it happen. And that's something that we've kind of heard from our friends. There's there's a lot of questions that are unanswered in order to satisfy that demand that people have, or the request that they have to be able to compete kind of the way they want to compete.
I think for us, it's all about, okay, what can we do as a community to make sure that we're all listening to each other and trying to find the best situation that helps everyone in the best possible way. And hopefully, we're able to find ways for everyone to be able to compete and everyone to have a wonderful experience in this art form that we all love so much.
So I had Tony Nunez on several episodes ago, and we talked about the rule change itself. And I think,
Tony.
yeah, he's amazing, and I think he had a fantastic perspective on it. Which, if those of you watching or listening to this right now have not had a chance, please go check it out, because I think he talked about it in a lot of detail, and I agree with a lot of his opinions on kind of the fallacy behind that. It's hard to judge because it's apples and oranges. With the Cabaret background, you know firsthand that we judge apples and oranges all the time. So as far as the rule change goes specifically, if you want to hear his opinions and my opinions on it, I would direct people to that episode. My question was more directed as if they had stripped the titles and it was just another competition, would you still have found value in competing on that floor?
Of course, we love competing on that floor.
I think
It's a beautiful atmosphere. It's a beautiful environment.
It's our home,
Yeah.
I've been going to that competition since I was 6-7 years old.
Of course, we're in this to be able to compete and to be able to win championships, and that's part of our goal system. But to us, getting on the floor and being able to dance is such a big part of why we do this.
And I think we had a lot of trust in the people that were in charge. The right decisions would be made, and they were. So it worked out great. So I don't think we were too concerned necessarily, probably, about those potential problems. I think we were just kind of like, oh,
If
interesting.
we have the titles, great, we'll dance. If
But
there's no
if we
titles,
don't,
great, we'll
then great,
dance.
we'll dance,
you know.
Um, but yeah, anyway.
Fair enough. Last question before we go, and then I want to open it up just in case you guys have anything that you want to talk about that we haven't yet talked about. Obviously, I'm currently in Salt Lake City. You guys are in Utah as well. We've passed each other at a couple of events and in a couple studio coaching sessions before. With your teaching, independent, I'm assuming, are you tied to either Strictly Ballroom or Peak, or do you kind of go wherever the students need you to go at this point?
We focus on our students and their needs primarily. Both spaces have great things to offer, and Utah's a unique situation in that we do have quite a lot of independent opportunities, and we do freelance. And we're grateful to both of those spaces for hosting such beautiful ballrooms.
Yeah.
And we just look towards our students to what can best serve their needs.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we've probably taught at most every ballroom dance studio there is in Utah, um, at least once, so I think we
Yeah.
definitely hop around, to help the students' needs, because some students don't necessarily want to travel an hour and a half or an hour from this place to that place. And if there's enough interest, we'll make a trip out somewhere. We even taught up in Idaho once a month for a whole year.
Wow.
Making a drive up there, to one of those little towns, like we taught in Preston, we taught in Ammon.
Idaho Falls.
We've taught, where's in light? Where is that
Yeah,
place?
we just feel really lucky. There's
So,
lots
yeah.
of great opportunities out here, and
I just like anybody
great
else.
spaces.
If you're gonna go where the work is,
Mm-hmm.
and try to do your best to provide your services for those students that are interested in becoming better in their craft. So
Definitely.
yeah.
I had Aaron Pierce on last week, who is obviously a graduate of UVU ballroom. He was competing in Salt Lake for some time.
Yeah, I love Aaron.
And he had mentioned that since he had moved to California, he started seeing more coaches and more opportunity for amateur dancers in Utah. I attributed that to what Oscar and Carolina and David and Natalie are doing with Peak Performance. What would you like to see the future of Utah dance sport be? Do you want to see obviously we would all love more opportunities for students to grow and more opportunity to interact with the top level coaches, but what is something that you would like to see either changed or improved in the next 5 years as a way to grow the amateur program here in the state?
I think that we need some more competitions. I think we need that. Sometimes you look at some states and how many competitions they have per year, and like, wow, 45 comps a year. My gosh, that's one state. Wait, how many weekends are there in a year? And you look at Utah, and it's like, how many NDCA sanctioned competitions do we have? Well, not that many.
Yeah.
And by comparison, so I think that'd be a great thing to see more NDCA sanctioned competitions in Utah. That would be a wonderful blessing for a lot of dancers, so they didn't feel pressured to have to spend money to travel. A lot of competitions like on the East Coast are within driving distance, so you can drive. Whereas in Utah, if you want to go to the East Coast, you have to fly. Of course, you can drive to California, so some students do. But again, that's still a 13-hour, 12-hour drive.
Yeah.
Compared to the East Coast, where it could be a 4-hour drive, which is a lot less. So I think that'd be a great thing to make dancing grow and flourish in Utah, is more opportunities. For competitions, yeah. I think that would be a great thing to have happen the next couple of years.
Love it. Love it. Well, I know you guys have a busy day ahead of you, so I don't want to keep you too terribly long. But is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to, or anything that you want our listeners or viewers to know about what you guys are doing right now?
I'll say something. Keep dancing, even though COVID's happening.
There's always ways to make your dreams come true.
Yeah, don't stop working.
Where there's a will, there's a way. And this is a great opportunity to really focus in on why we love the process. What about the process really invigorates us as dancers? And kind of enjoying that journey without the maybe such frequent competitions is a different experience, but it's no less valuable. There's so much we can learn and so many ways we can still grow and develop.
And then a lot of our friends and some of our teachers have had some wise advice and counsel saying, you know what, take advantage of this time to see your friends if, you know, you have a little more time on your hands, or spend
Diversify
time
your
with
interests.
families, you know, try to be balanced. You know, this is an advantage and opportunity that the whole dance community kind of gets at once. And once it's gone, it's gone. You know, you're going to get right back to competing every weekend.
Right back to the grind.
And right back to the grind. So take advantage of that time, you know, but also it's been time to study too, just improve yourself. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Build.
That's what we would say.
Yeah, it's given us a fun chance for some side projects. One of which we
Was
just
our
completed
exams.
our exams.
That was
for
really nice to get done.
The ISD licentiate in ballroom. So now I've completed that in Latin and ballroom both. We worked on finishing our website.
That was nice.
So it gives you a chance to really tackle those side projects and finish them up.
Yeah, if you don't mind me saying this, if anyone's listening and wants to visit our website, go to treudancing.com. TREU, not UE.
Yes.
I wish it was spelled correct, but it's not, because my last name's German. So I've got German ancestry in my blood.
It's German, correct?
It is German. It's correct, and it actually means the same thing in German, which is cool. So
there you go. Yeah, for anybody that wants to follow Kayci and Kayci on their journey, treudancing.com is in the description box below. You can also find them on Facebook and Instagram at True Dancing as well. And I think they've got personal pages, but the business pages at least are listed in the description box below. So go check them out after that. Well, thank you both so much for being guests on today's episode. Hopefully we can chat again in the future.
Let's
sure.
do it.
Definitely. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As I said in the beginning, I'm Samantha. I'm your host from Love.Live.Dance. If you want to support this podcast, first thing you need to do is hit that subscribe button if you have not already. We're, like I said at the beginning, are trying to get to 100 subscribers, so make sure you hit the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up, turn on the notification bell, you know, all of the YouTube-y, normal internet-y things. You can find all of our podcast episodes at ballroomchat.com. You can also find us across social media at Ballroom Chat on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We also have a Patreon page if you want behind the scenes content, if you want to participate in polls about how we determine who to have on or what content to produce. You can do that at patreon.com/ballroomchat. As always, stay safe, stay positive, enjoy the holiday weekend if you're in the US, and we hope to see you dancing very soon. Bye, guys.